Bole Shri Gajanan Swami Ki Jai. Devotees, as we begin, close our eyes, clasp our hands, and focus on Gajanan Swami. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. Om Shri Hrim Saraswati Namah. Om Sumukasya Karantasya Kapilo Gajakarnaka Lambodharasya Vigato Vignanasho Vinayako Dhumraketu Ganadhyaksho Bhalachandro Gajananam Dvadashaitani Namani Ye Pathishya Chunyarapim Vidyarambe Vivahe Cha Praveshi Nirghame Tadha Sangrame Sankate Jaiva Vignastasya Najayate. Sankarnasham Ganesh Stotram. Pranamya Shirsa Devam Gauri Putram Vinayakam Bhaktavasam Smare Nityam Ayu Kamartha Siddhaye. Pratamam Vakratundam Cha Ekadantam Dvitiyakam Tritiyam Vishnu Kimraksham Ghajavakram Chaturtakam Lambodharam Panchamam Cha Shashtam Vikatam Eva Cha Saptamam Vignarajam Cha Dhumnavarnam Tatashtakam Navamam Bhalachandram Cha Dhashamam Tu Vinayakam Ekadasham Dhanapatim Dwadasham Tu Gajananam Dwadashaitani Namani Trisandhyam Yapati Narah Nacha Vigna Bhyam Tasya Sarvasiddhi Karam Prabhu Vidyarati Lavati Vidyam Dhanarati Lavati Dhanam Putrati Lavati Putram Mokshati Lavati Gatam Japi Ganapati Stotram Shadbhirmase Pharam Lave Samvatsarina Siddhim Cha Lavati Naj Samshayah Ashtanam Brahmanebhyascha Likitvaya Samarpe Tasya Vidya Bhavi Sarva Ganeshasya Prasadata. Itishki Narad Purane Sankatnasham Ganesh Stotram Sampurnam. We pay obeisance to Lord Shri now. Karpura Gauram Karunavataram Sansarasaram Bhujagendraharam Saravasantam Hridayarvinde Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami. Jayanti Mangalakari Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Shama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swadha Namostute. Bole Shri Gajanan Swami Ki Jai. Devotees, as we begin, we sing a short kirtan to Gajanan Swami. Gauri Ganesh Uma Mahesh Parvati Nandan Sri Ganesh. Gauri Ganesh
Uma Mahesh Parvati Nandan Sri Ganesh.
Sharanam Ganesh Sharanam Ganesh
Sharanam Ganesh Sharanam Ganesh.
Sharanam Ganesh Sharanam Ganesh
Sharanam Ganesh Sharanam Ganesh.
Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh.
Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh.
Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh.
Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh.
Gauri Ganesh Uma Mahesh Sharanam Ganesh.
Sharanam Ganesh, Sharanam Ganesh.
Sharanam Ganesh, Sharanam Ganesh.
Sharanam Ganesh, Sharanam Ganesh.
Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh.
Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh.
Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh.
Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh.
Gauri Ganesh, Uma Mahesh, Parvati Nandana Sri Ganesh.
Gauri Ganesh, Uma Mahesh, Parvati Nandana Sri Ganesh.
Parvati Nandana Sri Ganesh.
Parvati Nandana Sri Ganesh.
Devotees, as we begin with Ganesh Puran, and in preparation for this Katha tonight, it took me a while to decide which particular part of Ganesh Puran or which part of the Ganesh story I wanted to focus on. So I decided to go with the earliest impact that Lord Ganesh had in my life. Even before reading about him, I remember Panibalam, the spiritual leader of this Monday, or my father, whenever mom would send us to bed, he would normally oversee us. And the first thing he would do is make sure the water is extremely cold. He would put us under the water and say, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. Om Shri Gangama. Call Ganesh name and call Ganga name. And that is the earliest time I remember hearing about Ganesh Bhagwan. And these things stay with you because normally they're accompanied with a tap or a licks, right? So Ganesh Bhagwan, from that inception, always had an impact on us. And even now, anything that I decide to do in my life or that I do in my life, somehow I always call God's name first, specifically Lord Ganesh. The second incident, and this is what I want to focus on today, is Ganesh in literature. Now, my brother and I will know there's a particular series called the Amarchit Katha. And you know we have an attic. And growing up as young boys, what we would normally do to escape, obviously we can't watch TV past an hour for the day. So we normally take these books, make a big bowl of chow, and go upstairs and read. And one particular story that I always keep visiting is this story where, and we all know it, where Ganesh loses his head, or where Lord Shiva beheads him, as people normally say. And this story had an impact on me. As a young child, seeing, we're not understanding as yet, but at least reading that, it built the curiosity enough to want the understanding. And that is what I want to really start off today with. That even though we have children here, we have adults, we want to understand that Lord Ganesh, despite what Katha is, some people may not be able to go in depth to understand certain things, but at least it builds enough curiosity to know or to build that understanding later on in life. So the Katha I'm really focusing on today, and the theme that I'm going with, is really the subjugation or the taming of the ego. I'll read the Hindi first, the parts that will deal with the actual story, and then we'll go and delve deeper. Gufa madhya ika dekir kumara, शिव पूछत ही वचन उचारा। गुफा मध्य ही मातु हमारी, करती तपस्या शिव अधिकारी। यह सुनी पेली चले त्रिपुरारी, बालक देखी क्रूर बयोबारी। गुफा द्वारा दरिता तब्य, कर गही शक्ति ही जो ही। बिना मातु के आयसो जान न देहु तो ही। यह सुनी पेली चले प्रिय पाही, बालक कोप कीन मन माही। क्रूरवंत सुत गरजा भारी, शिव पर तीक्ष्ण शक्ति पवारी। आवत शक्ति देखी कर धारा, तेज शक्ति सो काति निवारा। लकी शंकर शर तेज अपारा, बालक धनुष काति शिवधारा। मातु सुन्य मराई मम भारा, गुफा सुन कसी शक्ति उपारा। मारत तनय न मानत हारी, क्रूरवंत तब भेद पुरारी। गही त्रिशूल ही नाथ प्रचंडा, उदिगा मात परा ब्रह्मंडा। यही विधि बालक मारी महेशा, तनय समेत गुफा में पेशा। जब ही उमा शंभु कहा देखा, उतत बये तब प्रीत विषेका। सुनी गिरिजा उति बाहर आई, सुतलकी तुरत परी मुरझाई। सुनो नाथ यह तनय हमारा, यही विधि जे से करो विचारा। सुनी शंकर बोले मृदुवाणी, बिना माता की जय भवानी। क्रोधित लागी त्रिशूल प्रचंडा, उदिगा माता परा ब्रह्मंडा। बोले उमा सुनो मम जानी मम वाणी, कृपा सिंधु उर अंतर ज्ञानी। आज को भय तनय जहन होई, मात पीति देकर सोई। तेहि बालक का माता मंगावहु, कृपा करो मम तनय जीवाहु। तब शिव दूतन लीन बुलाई, सकल कथा कही तिन्हि सुनाई। पुनि बोले गण गिरा सुहाई, सुनो नाथ करिनी यक जाई। सो बालक पाची है नाता, आज हो तो आनोन माता। आयसु पाय धूत बहुदाये, करी सुत माता कातिले आए। मात लाए जोरे सोई ग्रीवा, प्रगट तार भये होई सजीवा। पुत्र देख माता सुख पाई, आशीष दे शिव हृदय लगाई। तनय देखी सुख किन्ह भवानी, शंकर सो बोली मृदु वाणी। बोले श्री गजानन स्वामी की जय। Devotees, this very short katha holds great significance. And even though we have heard about this story many a time from many different pundits, I wanted to lend my own interpretation of what this scripture, this part of the scripture really tries to achieve. Devotees, if you read the Ganesh Puran or stories about Lord Ganesh, you'll realize that there are many different accounts given, many changing details, but essentially it remains the same. So, as I narrate the story, I'll focus more on the symbolism and we'll move from there. We first begin with the problem. Parvati Ma, who we know is Parashakti, or the supreme energy, and specifically in the human body, she resides in the Muladhara chakra. We keep hearing this. And this is known as the Kundalini Shakti. It is said that when we purify ourselves, ridding ourselves of the impurities that bind us, then the Lord comes to us automatically. So in this case, when Parvati Ma would offer severe penance, or in some cases they would say she went to take a spiritual bath, Lord Shiva, who is Purush or Shiv, would visit her. And all of this is symbolic. We need to take this story and attach ourselves to it. That when we have awakened this Kundalini Shakti, God is ever present. But in this case, it is presented in story form. It is presented in this form to almost appear like a problem. Devotees, in the first instance, Parvati Ma asked a follower of Lord Shiva, Nandi, to guard the door where she is staying. However, when Lord Shiva came to that cave or that castle or whatever you want to call it, he obviously knows Lord Shiva. And this is a reality that Nandi, to be able to be elevated to that position, recognizes Shiva all of the time. So, Nandi, Shiva's bull, represents that divine temperament. Some of us, or all of us, should try in our own way to always recognize God. And sometimes that is also a problem. Where recently also, a special guru in India, believing himself to be God, thousands, millions of followers, what did he do? And what was the outcome of it? So we have people who are constantly being fooled because they don't know God. They don't have that divine temperament to always know Him. We see also in the Mahabharata where people even try to imitate God. And you'll see me moving from Ganesh Puran, Shiv Puran, Mahabharata, Ramayana, because there's a particular word I wanted to go home with today. And that is that word I'll give you in a while. But the reality is that whenever you are put in a position where you have to listen to Ramayana, listen to Mahabharata, listen to Gita, listen to Ganesh Puran, Garuda Puran, all of these texts all share similar themes, and they are always going to be interconnected in this way. But we'll focus more on that soon. Nandi is so devoted to Shiva that every thought is directed towards him. So how can he tell Lord Shiva no? In this case, Parvati Ma, her problem became even more severe. She had to now find some way or find someone to take over this position. So, in line with the narrative of the story, after Nandi permitted Shiva, Parvati decided that the only way to guarantee that she would not be interrupted is to not allow any of these devotees to do that job. So what did she do? And this is where the story gets interesting. She created, and I'll use his name loosely in the case where whatever she created did not have a name. He was not Ganesh as yet. So sometimes we made a mistake and say he was Ganesh. That wasn't Ganesh. That was a form created by Parvati Ma. So we could call him Parvati Nandan or Parvati Gana, anything you want. At this stage, because he represents the ego, and again the theme of this katha today is the subjugation of the ego, what that form is before it is Ganesh is the ego. So there's no mention of a name for this form. And what we are being taught is that ego is of little to no importance. And identifying with this ego is not in line with scriptural teachings. Devotees, let's make this point a little bit clearer. We have a Ganesh Murti here on the right hand side, my right hand side, and then on the left hand side we have some other Murtis. These Murtis were fashioned in a traditional way by members of the temple. If you can see them, or you have seen them before, one is lying down, one is doing a karate kick, and the other I can't recall, right? But these are different forms of Ganesh Bhagwan. In this case, whoever would have created them, or would have molded them, created them with the intention, or with the mind, or with the creative consciousness of the ego. They created, for example, the Ganesh with the karate kick. I'm pretty sure you know members of the temple who created that particular Murti. Right? You can identify with the person. Why? That person believes that when she creates the form of Lord Ganesh, whatever is in her mind, she attaches the ego to Lord Ganesh. And that is what, from the start to the beginning, for the Visarjan, that is what we try to do. We attach our mind, our ego, to the form of Ganesh. So that in the end, throughout the 11 days, at the end, we submerge and subjugate our ego. So you need to understand why all of this ties in the way it does. On the point of Parvati Ma and the use of turmeric, she used dirt Some accounts will say, but it's very turmeric, we call it haldi or hardi, to mold that form. It is especially important in puja and rituals. And just by the way, I don't know if it is in connection with the Ganesh festival, in London, you can actually get a turmeric latte if you do go to Starbucks, right? So you know about Starbucks, right? There's a turmeric latte now. We don't have that in Trinidad as yet. Somebody could probably make the recommendation. So 2 days ago they started that, and it's a big hit. Turmeric has gotten widely popular. In 2016, it's one of the purported health benefits. The root vegetable that stains anything has been a mainstay of Indian medicine for millennia. We know that. And it is said to have anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. And studies show how it might possibly affect or fight certain cancers or treat infections. So that is just the reason why we use hardi or turmeric. As you all know, turmeric is yellow in color. And the color associated with the Muladhara chakra, as we mentioned before, or the base chakra, it is associated with that color, where the Kundalini resides. And again, if I didn't say it before, Parvati Maha here represents the Kundalini Shakti. And Ganesh is that deity who guards this chakra. I remember a few weeks ago, we were in Canada, and yes, it's my family, one of my family members. Somebody asked him, okay, so what you doing now? So he tell us, okay, he's working, he's doing this business, whatever. And we ask him also, okay, so what does he do for his free time? He says he does Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga. Now, Kundalini Yoga is not a joke. It's a very dangerous thing to do, because it deals with a tantric energy. And we'll come to it eventually, but Ganesh represents that form or that ego that controls it at the base level. When we remove that, and again, because I'm using Ganesh loosely, I said before, the form that Shakti Ma or Parvati Ma creates is not Ganesh, right? So we call it Parvati Gun. That is stopping or blocking that energy. Now, if we are experts, and nobody in the world as yet are, if they create some way or they show some way to bring that up, then obviously we are gods upon earth. But if to channel that particular energy through the wrong channels, that could cause serious destruction. And we know, if you look at the Lord Ganesh Murtis, I don't know how many of you on Panabaram, he always likes to do this. When he asks which hand of the Hanuman Baba, which hand is holding the mountain. If you look at the Ganesh, which way is the trunk facing? Or which direction is it on? Is it on the left, the right, or is it in the center? And that is the Ida, Pingala, and the Sushumna. And through these different channels, we can have the Kundalini Shakti rise. So that is just by the way. So Devi needed to create a gun to be able to protect her from any intruders. This shield to protect the divine secret from unripe minds. And it is when this awareness begins to turn away from things of the world and toward the divine, as Nandi had allowed when Shiva had access, then the great secret is revealed. In this case, the form that Parvati Ma creates is an obstacle to divine enlightenment. And, ironically, when he is overtaken by Shiva consciousness, that is when Lord Shiva removes the head of ego, Lord Ganesh becomes the remover of obstacles. So Shiva is the Lord and Supreme Teacher. And Ganesh ultimately here represents the ego-bound Jiva-Atma, or that will be all of us. When the Lord comes, the Jiva-Atma, surrounded as it is with a murky cloud of ego, usually doesn't recognize him, and maybe even ends up arguing or fighting with him. And again, as I talk, those of you who attend Ramayana often, or Gita, or know the Mahabharata, different scenes or scenarios could come to your mind. When this ego is surrounded by a cloud of murky ego, or is submersed, or is not understandable, or understanding the real reality of God, he ends up arguing or fighting with him. And this is where we reach in part of the story where Shiva is at the doorway and Parvati Gana is standing there, stopping him from entering. He doesn't have that divine consciousness as yet to be able to find or to notice or to allow Shiva in. Now, this is where the theme of destroying and taming the ego is pervasive. In all scriptural and Puranic texts, Ravan in the Ramayana, we know that so well. Constance Shishupal in the Mahabharata, and almost any interactions that you listen to between asuras and various forms of the Lord lead to their demise because they allow the ego to take precedence. And this is where I get to that special word, and I hope you remember it. It doesn't make sense I come here and only use or don't use the little bit of studies that I have. In literature, which is my field of study, and literary studies, there's a particular word. It's called intertextuality. All of our scriptures use this device, or were created with the usage of this particular device. Intertextuality is the shaping of a text meaning by another text. As a literary device, it creates an interrelationship between texts and generates related understanding in separate works. That is why we could sit here, for example, again, in the old time way or the old time days, even up to now, people like to question the Pandit. When the Pandit comes prepared to read Ramayana, they say, no, Baba, let's have a death, let me hear Garuda Puran. Or let's say Gita. Not understanding that, despite whichever book that they read, they are reading the Word of God. Because intertextuality is at play, the meaning is the same. And they all play off of each other. So, all our scriptures are related. And they adhere to some form of intertextuality. And these relationships can be separated into three types. Of the three types, the obligatory, optional, and accidental, in our case, our saints are obliged to create and to write and to narrate with the obligation that all of the meaning derived and put into those texts and as narration and the poetry, they must stick to this intertextuality. And I'm not afraid to say this, but Hindus are not reading. Or if they are reading, they are not doing enough close and critical reading of their own scriptures. Now, yes, we have in our religion a particular practice. The Guru is there. For knowledge, you go to him. For discourse, you sit, you listen like what you're doing right now. But how many of us go to Ramayana, we go to readings, we go to Sunday morning service with our books in our hand? And if you can't do that, they have apps for that. They have the Gita app. They have the Ramayana app. So these things, knowledge now becomes a little bit more active in your life. You don't have to sit there and listen. Sometimes we can make mistakes also. That is where you come into the play, where it now becomes transactional learning or interactive. If I say something, it can hit a certain spot in you because you would have read it before or you would know about it. And that is where we have reached now, or we should reach at least. So, on the point of reading, I don't know if this Ganesh Murti has it. And if you didn't know, Lord Ganesh is one of the only forms of God where they could go so many varieties, so many different types of murtis. And one type I know for sure is where he holds a book. It's not a coloring book. Is it? It's a scriptural text. And that text is for you to read. It is for you to remain, to keep it in your mind. If you can, you can keep it in your phone. Right? So, as practicing Hindus, and we must train religion into it, we have to be strong and firm, and we have to now accept that reading must play an important part in our life. Because you got to ask yourself, how good of a listener am I? At the end of this discourse, how many of you will go back remembering what I would have said over the past few nights? Right? I can't. So if we are not good listeners, or we are good listeners, we must also establish reading skills also. So, back to the Katha, where Parvati Gana and Shiva is there. The ego must be removed and destroyed. That is the only way Shiv and Shakti can merge. And what is stopping it? Parvati gun, or that form created by Parvati to block it. And again, in our own body, that represents Shakti is Kundalini, and Shiv is divine consciousness or Brahman. So in conjunction with this intertextuality, there's a particular verse from the Mahabharata, from the Gita, sorry. And it goes like this. Ahankaram balam dharpam kamam krodam cha sansrita. Mam atma paradehishu pravishanto bhya suyuka. And in this particular verse, Sri Krishna says, blinded by ego, strength, arrogance, desire and anger, the demonic abuse my presence with their own body and in the body of others. And this is where the Katha now transitions from the story or the narrative to us. The ego, just to be clear, is a feeling of separateness, the sense of duality, or the idea of being distinct and different from others. It is a false perception of oneself, and as a separate being or a limited being. Egoism creates limitations of space and time, in which we become stuck. Since it exists in all of us as individual consciousness, it is a universal feeling. So that is one feature right there that brings all of us together, that we all have ego. Ahamkar is that which is shaped by egoism, and it manifests in us in several ways. And some of the ways are, if you're not sure, you could do a self-check now. Ownership and doership, number 1. Desires and attachments, number 2. Pride and arrogance, number 3. Self-esteem, selfishness, self-centeredness, aggression and competitiveness, judgment, opinions and criticism, identification with the mind and body, fear, suffering, anxiety, anger, stress, and so on. So these are manifestations of ego. It is the duty of the Lord, or as we know, we always hear the form of the Guru in our lives, in our narrative, to now cut off the head of ego. Remove that head of ego. And so powerful is this ego, however, that at first the Guru instructions may not work. As we know in this time and age, we have many people who are exposed to the right gurus. And we could say, I could call some. My guru, Shankaracharya, the late Varistha Persad. If we were really listening to him, or if we were really true Guru Bhakt, then we'll be able to really live a better life. We'll never have any problem. Or if we have problems, I mean everybody have problems, it'll be very easy to transition. Right? And from him we have his sons who are living the life. And we have other pundits like that. So from that lineage, we have true gurus. Not the guru who get locked up for 20 years in India. Fooling the people. Right? His armies failed to subdue Ganesh. We are back with the battle. And before removing his head, Shiva doesn't act haphazardly. He tried speaking to him. He tried correcting him, and it didn't work. It often requires a tougher approach. And that is why true gurus are never liked. Because a true guru speaks truth words, or true words. And many of us do not like to hear what they say. I myself, we were given some harsh words already, but we have to accept it. Because they are seeing things that we cannot see for ourselves. Or it will take a lot of time, or after the guru leaves, to be able to understand what he really meant. And a compassionate guru in his wisdom finds a way. So, back to the story, Devi threatened to destroy the whole creation after learning of Ganesh's demise. And this again here is where, when I heard that my family member was engaging in Kundalini Yoga, it was funny, because people say these things just to appear I don't know what's the word, I don't ever get any kind of self-importance when they say this, but Kundalini Yoga is not something that you brag about. And releasing that Kundalini Yoga in the wrong way can cause a lot of problem. And in this case here, Parvati Ma, the story is structured in such a way that Parvati Ma begins to lose control of her. She begins to lose control and becomes very angry. And this indicates that when the ego dust dies and liberated, there must be a particular end. The liberated Jeev loses interest in its temporary physical value or vehicle or the body. And if it is liberated from the Kundalini Yoga or the Shakti, it must reach somewhere. And this is where Shiv comes into play and begins to merge into the Supreme. So there must be some direction. We all know that. We must have direction in our lives. And this awakening Kundalini, if it is allowed to spiral out of control, then Shakti in the form of Kali Ma can destroy everything, overcoming any obstacle with ease. Again, aren't we reminded of that famous picture we would normally see? That will bring a lot of questions for people too, where Kali Ma is standing almost on Lord Shiva with her tongue sticked out. And this is the incident where Kali Ma had to be stopped by Shivaji after destroying the demon Gorasur. And this again ties into the intertextuality of our scriptures. We don't have to go far to understand what will happen if Kali Ma really spirals out of control. This impermanent and changeable creation is a form of Devi, to which this body belongs. And the unchanging absolute is Shiva. When the ego dies, that creation of Parvati Ma, the external world, which depends on the ego for its existence, disappears along with it. And it is said that if we want to know the secrets of this world, which is a manifestation of Devi, then we must first receive the blessings of Ganesh. In this part of the story now, where Shiva is restoring life to Ganesh, to appease, obviously, Parvati Ma, and replacing his head with an elephant's head, means that before we can leave the body, before we remove the obstacle that guards the Kundalini Shakti, because we are all supposed to do that. If we can, we should be allowed, or our scriptures allow us to engage in Kundalini Yoga. But you have to be very guided. And this is the warning here. Before we remove the obstacle that guards the Kundalini Shakti, we must establish that connection with Purush. Because a lot of people want spiritual powers, but for the wrong reasons. To use it for the wrong reasons. And when we establish that connection with Purush and accept that our consciousness must merge with Brahman, then we'll be able to achieve that. So, no longer identifying with the limited individual self, but rather with that large universal self. Our life is renewed, becoming one that truly benefits creation. And year after year, Ganesh festival after Ganesh festival, this is what we're supposed to be undergoing. A renewed sense of purpose, a renewal. And if this is not happening, then some years you'll feel to come to the Ganesh festival, some years you wouldn't. Some years you'll meet the Lord Ganesh, some years you wouldn't. So your love is supposed to grow. If it is not growing, because Ganesh festival in Trinidad and Tobago is growing. It was not to the extent that it is now. But again, and I know you must take this with a pinch of salt, we have murtis that are getting bigger and bigger and more expensive too. So is this an extension of our ego? You have to ask yourself that. These murtis do not need to get as big as we make them. It is only an extension of how probably large our pockets are. But at the end of it, what happens to the murti? It is submerged. That money can be used for something else. The whole purpose of it, and this is why Parvati Ma creates Lord Ganesh, is self-sacrifice, that creative consciousness. We have to create Lord Ganesh from our hands, from our mind, using our bodies, our time, our talent. And if we are not doing so, we could help someone do it. Or we could get started with the process. These murtis are beautiful, yes. But they are the products of someone else's sacrifice. So, Ganesh is given dominion. Now we are talking about Ganesh, who will have received the elephant's head. Ganesh is given dominion over the gunners, which is a general term denoting all classes of beings, ranging from insects, animals, and humans to the subtle and celestial beings. These various beings all contribute to the government of the creation. Everything from natural forces like storms and earthquakes to the elemental qualities like fire and water, to function of the body's organs and processes. And if we don't honor the gunners, then our very action is a form of thievery. So instead of worshipping each gunner, we worship instead Ganesh, Gun Isha, the Lord of the gunners. And by receiving his grace, we receive the grace of all. He removes any potential obstacles and enables our endeavors to succeed. And such is the greatness of Sri Ganesh. As I mentioned before, there are 9 ways to tame the ego. The first way is letting go of the need to win or to be right and superior. And we have people like that in our society on all levels, in all facets. We have people who believe that winning and achieving on others' tears and blood and sweat is the best way to go. Instead, let go of this need to win, to be right and superior. There's a nice quote here. When the choice is to be right or to be kind, always make the choice that brings peace. Number 2, stop identifying with the perfect body image. And this is a big one. We have in our society now for a long time, and we have certain regulations being put into place now. Our models, none of them or none of us looks anything like them, not so? Anybody want to challenge that? None of us looks anything like them. What does Ganesh represent? I'm not saying that you have to have a pot belly, but he represents actually a positive body image. What does a big belly show? Some people say that when you get married, you get a big belly. So what does that mean? You're happy or you're sad? You have to answer that. A big belly is stability, right? You're less likely to fall. Not so? In addition to that, you can take it a different level. A big belly also represents a bigger gravitational force. As we know, the larger the mass, if it is greater, it exerts a greater force. Not so? Or a gravitational pull. And this is what Lord Ganesh does. He pulls us towards him. This is one also additional interpretation. Number 3, stop identifying with achievements. Devotees, our spiritual leader always says this. Whatever qualifications that we have, whatever achievements that we will have acquired over the course of our life, most of the times these are things that benefit us alone. At the end of it, and this is the perfect example, when that dead body or when you lose your life in any way, or when life is taken away from you, your family members refer to you as that body, or when the body coming. You're not saying your name or your qualifications or what you were called when you were alive. They say when the body coming. And this is the reality of it. So, identifying with achievements, it carries us nowhere. Number 4, stop identifying with luxury labels. Now, I want to extend this point a little bit from what you may think. You may say luxury label, okay, so BMW, which is not the truth, is a good car. It's not a good car, right? I'm saying that. Toyota is the best. So, if you identify with luxury labels, that is what you will buy. So, you have reached a certain state in your life, in terms of finances. You can afford it, you buy it, BMW, Audi, whatever. You're identifying with these things. Why? Because it's a status symbol. But in reality, a Toyota carries you all the way. Right? Start and go. Right? And that's not a luxury label. Already become very expensive to afford one now. So, I want to extend this particular point to luxury labels, and I know this is a very touchy point. We have different celebrations all over the country. We don't expect everybody to come together in one celebration and celebrate Lord Ganesh, this Ganesh Chaturthi or Ganesh Visarjan in one place. It's just too much, and it allows for that. But we have people who are establishing themselves or moving or taking up places in other temples or other celebrations. Why? Because they have more vehicles, they have bigger murtis, as I mentioned before. And this again is extensions of our ego. All along Om Shakti, and I remember this, we would normally take a mud murti and we would carry it to the Arangways, right down behind the cricket club. A few times I remember this, we were doing this, if I remember correctly. And that time it was just one murti. And there are people who would have stayed with us, and there are people who also go other places. Why? Because they have more murtis. They have a bigger celebration. Right? So stop extending and identifying yourself with people who are in prominence or luxury labels, as stated here. Stop identifying yourself with people who are doing this just for the show and the pomp and the ceremony. This is not what Lord Ganesh is about. This is not what the Ganesh festival is about. Okay? Number 5, we are not our reputation, good or bad. We are not our reputation. At some point in our life, we must accept in some way that despite what people say, good or bad, we have to accept ourselves for who we are. Otherwise, you'll live your life with no peace whatsoever. Our reputation doesn't create our success or serve us whatsoever. I have been around long enough to see people come in and people leave. People would ascribe themselves or attach themselves to our group, to our temple, our temples, and then they will leave afterwards. Because pundits, there's a touchy point again, pundits of prominence or people who are coming up now and calling themselves pundits, they are establishing themselves in different ways. And only to realize after a while, when the reputation comes up over and over, and it's not so nice, people leave them. And this is what happens also. Number 6, we are not our thoughts or emotions. And there's a small quote here too. Rule your mind or it will rule you. The livelihood of the ego is in fear. The more we worry or get anxious, the more we fall prey to ego's hold. We must recognize that most of our fears are unwarranted, and that worrying itself is an exercise in futility. So we are not saying approach every event in life with a sense of, or we don't care, or carelessness, or dokedam. We are saying instead, establish stability in your mind and do not let thoughts or emotions rule you. We have industries, pharmaceutical companies who are making millions off of people who all of a sudden starting to feel very anxious. All of a sudden have attention deficit disorders in our schools. And before that wasn't the problem. Number 7, don't take things personally. And that's self-explanatory. Number 8, respond and don't react. We face many situations where ego urges us to react rather than take a few breaths to calm down and see the big picture, which then enables us to respond in a more thoughtful way. Again, respond, don't react. And number 9, the last one, which is a difficult one because of Trinidadian culture, stop putting people down. Stop putting people down. Putting people down continually and seeing the worst in their actions reflects poorly on us. And my father again would normally say this, when you ill-speak someone, it shows that you have low self-esteem. And he keeps saying this over and over. Low self-esteem, low self-esteem. And when you really think about it, you really do that because you are seeing things in that person that you probably wish that you had. Or you don't really think of yourself or you are not stable enough to establish that I must respect that person and myself. So, on this point of ego, devotees, coming to my conclusion now, we must find the courage and time to tame our ego and transcend towards our true, authentic self. We start to connect with everything and everyone on an intimate level. We recognize that our ego is not keeping us safe, but rather separate from our reality. If we want to really understand the Ganesh principle, we need to understand that ego in itself must be removed from our lives. Bole Shri Gajanan Swami Ki Jai. At this time, we'll have the Havan.
Swaha.
We remain standing for Arati. Javati Sanuktam Vahina Yogitamaya Deepam Grihanadi Vasyate Vikitimirabham Iti Deepam.
Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva, Mata Jagi Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva, Mata Jagi Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Ladvan ko bhog lagi sant kare seva. Deva, Mata Jagi Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva, Mata Jagi Parvati Pita Mahadeva. एकदंत दयावंत चार भुजाधारी. एकदंत दयावंत चार भुजाधारी. माटे पे सिंधु तुम्हें मुझकी सवारी. दुखियों के दुख हरता परमदंड देवा. जय गणेश, जय गणेश, जय गणेश देवा, माता जागी पार्वती पिता महादेवा. जय गणेश, जय गणेश, जय गणेश देवा, माता जागी पार्वती पिता महादेवा. देवा, माता जाके पार्वती पिता महादेवा। जो तेरा ध्यान धरे ज्ञान मिले उसको, जो तेरा ध्यान धरे ज्ञान मिले उसको, शोध तुझे और भला ध्याऊं मैं किसको। हे देवा कृपा करो